A better life, better vision, what you wanting? Let's make it happen. Time to choose the better story. Come on. Choose the better story. Hey, choose the better story. Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Choose the Better Story. I'm Ryan Wright, your host, and this is a podcast about vision, mindset, performance, and purpose. We're going to start today by talking about one of the best eras in human history, and that is the 80s, the 1980s. I mean, does it get any better than that? 80s music, in my opinion, hands down the best era of music, the best decade of music. So much great stuff happening in the 80s, and also some of the best movies, one of which, when I was a kid, the Karate Kid movie came out. Not just part one, but also part two. When that movie came out, my grandparents gifted myself and my brother and my cousin. We all got karate outfits. I don't know if they were from a costume shop or where they got them, but my brother, my cousin, and myself, we got the white top, the white pants, and the black belt. And I'm telling you, we made so many memories just trying to reenact the Karate Kid. I remember in the living room, we would do one-on-one matches. Even though we knew nothing about the art of karate, we made it up. We were kicking, we were punching, obviously not trying to hurt each other, but we were just reenacting. Sometimes people got hurt, but that was just the nature of being boys. But I just remember hours and hours being in my Karate Kid outfit and my brother and my cousin being in their Karate Kid outfits. And we would 1v1 each other, and we would go everybody against everybody. And then we would pretend like we were taking on Cobra Kai together. So we would fight an invisible enemy. It was really, really fun. And I'm telling you, the 80s were incredible. Man, I miss those days. So let's do a little review about where we've been. We've already talked about a great story requires a main character, the hero of the story. And we've talked about how you are the hero of your own story. And what we know about a hero is a hero really, really wants something, but along the way, the hero encounters some sort of problem or problems. We also talked about how a great story also has another character in the form of a villain. And the villain's job is really to just cause havoc and keep the main character from getting what he or she really wants. And then we've talked about how as a hero, it is your responsibility to take action against the villain so that you can actually have the thing that you really want in life. Today, we're going to be talking about one more character in every great story. If you think about some of the best movies you've ever watched, there's going to be this character in the movie. I guarantee he or she is there. And this character plays the role of a guide or a coach. So let's just talk about a couple examples from movies that I'm sure you probably have seen. The first one that comes to mind would be the movie Star Wars. Star Wars, you have Luke Skywalker, the main character of the story, and the person playing the role of a coach or a guide in that movie would be Yoda. You're all familiar with who Yoda is, right? Use the Force, Luke. If you've seen Lord of the Rings, Frodo had Gandalf. If you're an Adam Sandler fan like I am, you've probably seen Happy Gilmore, and Happy Gilmore had Chubbs as the guide or the coach. And last but not least, again, we have to throw the 80s in there, the best era of music and movies. You've got the Karate Kid, right? Daniel-san had Mr. Miyagi. So that's right, in every great movie, there is a guide or a coach somewhere in the scene. But that's not necessarily true about real life. Often in life, we don't really think that we need a guide or a coach along the way. And so what that means is a lot of people try to be the hero and they try to do it themselves. And often that leads to the hero feeling stuck, stalled, spinning their wheels, and living a life without meaning or purpose. And that's just not a good story. And then when you live a life without meaning or purpose for a while, the hero wonders why they feel stuck. So let's talk a little bit about the role of a guide in a really good story. What's unique about a guide is they don't really have a lot of time on the screen. In fact, if you think of the movie Star Wars, Yoda only has about 15 minutes of screen time in the entire original Star Wars trilogy. Just 15 minutes. And usually when the guide shows up usually when the hero is really discouraged or in despair. And ultimately, they help the hero realize who they already are. They get them reoriented to who they already are. And then once the hero has clarity and is realigned to their vision, then the guide just encourages them to go take action. And it's usually taking action against the villain, because in order for the hero to get what they want, the villain has to be overcome through action. And that's the role of a guide. Now, you might be thinking, Ryan, that's really great for the movies. That makes sense in the movies, but I don't need a guide. I don't need a coach in my life. Well, let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to give you a couple reasons why I think every person needs a guide or a coach in their life. The first reason is we are way too close to our own story. Unfortunately, heroes have blind spots. You've probably heard the phrase, you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. That's the same thing with us. We're often too close to our circumstances and we can't see our blind spots. A guide is also able to shorten the journey. Most people don't fail in life, but they do wander. And a guide helps you avoid unnecessary detours. So a coach doesn't necessarily make the path easier, but a coach does make it shorter. And the last reason everyone needs a coach or a guide is because a guide will always call the hero to achieve higher levels than they would ever go alone. And we know this because we know we're the types of people that always negotiate with our fears. We tend to lower our standards when no one is watching. And a guide helps make sure that the vision is always the boss. Now, most people don't need more motivation. What they do need is accountability to be the person and live the life they've always wanted to live. So let's talk really quickly about 2 reasons most people don't have a coach. The first reason is that people overestimate self-reliance. A lot of people are simply proud of being self-made. They've handled things on their own. They've survived crazy circumstances, but survival and growth are not the same thing. Self-reliance actually turns dangerous when it becomes self-limitation. In fact, I would say that you can be strong and also stuck at the same time. And another reason people don't think they need a coach is they underestimate the cost of staying stuck. People have the mindset that coaching is expensive, but what people typically don't calculate, they typically don't calculate the cost of staying stuck long term. The cost of drifting for another year, the cost of living a life without meaning or purpose, or starting another year without meaning or purpose. I've heard people relate this next quote to the definition of insanity. I don't know if I would agree with that. I'd more say it's a definition of stubbornness. And that is, if you keep doing the same things and expecting different results, then that's probably stubbornness. And there's actually a really high price to pay if things stay the same in your life, especially if there's things that you don't like in your life. If those things stay the same, that's a really high price. And so what we forfeit without having the role of a guide or a coach in our life is we forfeit follow through, actually doing the things that we say we want to do. And when we forfeit follow through, what we get as a result is a growing gap between who we are and who we know we could be. And this gap is really important to talk about because this gap is why statistically over 80% of people get to their final hours on planet Earth and they have regrets. And it's usually regrets about how they spent their time and about not doing the things that they knew they were capable of doing. That's a really, really big deal. So yes, the role of a guide or a coach is an extremely important role to have in your life. It makes for a great story at the movies, but also makes for a really great story in your life as well. Every great story has a guide, and every great hero needs a guide. Not because the hero is weak, or not because the hero is a snowflake, but because the hero really wants something and needs help getting there. And sometimes one of the bravest things that a hero could do, the most courageous thing that a hero could do, is to ask for help or be open to the idea of guidance from a coach. If this episode hit something for you, that is not an accident. It probably just means there's some clarity in your life that you're ready for, and you need some help accessing it. So occasionally I open space in my calendar for conversations with people just to talk about what's important to them, get really clear on the things that they want in life, and maybe talk about some limiting beliefs or some ways that you might tend to get in your own way and trip on your own 2 feet. If that sounds useful to you, you know where to find me. I'm going to give you my email address, coachryanwright@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook or on Instagram. My handle's ryanwright.official. Just send me a DM. I'm happy to follow up with you on that. And since we're talking about that, let me just kind of unpack. I'm really, really, really excited about this, especially this is the last podcast of 2025, and we're getting ready to turn the corner, turn the page in the calendar, so to speak, to a new year starting January 2026. And so I just want to make sure everyone knows, like, one of my intentions for this podcast actually has to do with being a guide or a coach. I'm not sure why, but I've noticed as I look back at my life, there's almost in every season of my life, I can recall people coming to me for advice and coming to me for help. And I can recall this like all the way back into me being in middle school. But especially as I got older in high school, people were coming to me for advice and for help. When I was in college, people were coming to me for advice and help, and not just help with like homework. We're talking like help with life stuff, like really big things. I just recall that happening when I got into ministry and Paradise. I mean, teens were coming to me for help. Parents were coming to me for help. People that were in the town were coming to me for help and guidance. And some of those things were small things. Some of those things were really big things. But as I look back, I'm like, wow, I've just had so much opportunity, people coming to me for guidance. And man, when I coached basketball at Paradise High, I would have players that would come to me during practice and say, hey, can we chat after practice? And they didn't want to talk basketball. Sometimes they did. A lot of times they wanted to talk about life, some of the really big things that they were dealing with either in school or in life, maybe with a girlfriend or dealing with their home life. And it was just so meaningful for me as a coach to like take off the coach's hat and just really invest in these young men. Was just, I just love that. Absolutely love that. Now, hopefully, I'm in the solar industry, and I absolutely love the role that I have in the solar industry. Super grateful to be a part of a company that's serving its local community, and I'm going to keep doing that. But I have noticed in my life that there's a missing piece. And what I love about the solar industry for me personally is I love making community impact. I really feel like, especially here in California, when I'm helping homeowners get away from overpriced electricity rates and basically helping homeowners put money back in their pocket every month, I feel like I'm really impacting the community in a positive way. And I love that. What I like about this idea of coaching is I love making one-on-one impact. That's really important to me, man. I'm 50 years old. Who knows how long I'm going to live, but man, as long as I'm alive, I want to make an impact with as many people as possible, both in the community and individually. It's really important to me. And I've noticed even in the solar industry, people will come to me that are from work. They'll come to me and say, hey, Ryan, can we get a one-to-one? I want to meet with you one-on-one. And what I've noticed, like from high school to college to being in ministry to being a coach to being in the solar industry, when I have, first of all, I just love people, but when I have opportunities to connect with them on a one-on-one basis, man, I feel like I am living within my wheelhouse. I feel like that's what I was created to do, just because I love people and I love helping them win. After a really great conversation with somebody one-on-one, I will feel so electric. I will feel like I'm aligned with my purpose in life. I feel like I'm honoring God with giving of my time and giving wisdom and giving advice and just listening well. I feel like I'm just doing something right, and I want to keep doing something right more. And I feel like when I'm meeting with people one-on-one and coaching them up, helping them gain clarity, helping them overcome their limiting beliefs, and really helping them achieve a level they never thought possible, that is so meaningful to me. I absolutely love that. And so this podcast is going to be positioned kind of as a guide. I'm going to keep talking about things that I know are of value to you. And so again, man, would you do your part and just at least share the show so people know about this? Because my goal is just ultimately just to encourage people and give a couple practical nuggets of wisdom or advice, ways to level up in life, ways to have a sharper mindset, ways to live out your vision so you're living with purpose and meaning out there instead of spinning your wheels. Man, that just really excites me. Hopefully you can hear the tone of my voice. I'm really excited about that. Even if I never coach you one-on-one, just having the opportunity to invest in you through a podcast format, man, whether I know you personally or not, is just really humbling, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. I was watching this video about Nick Saban, the football coach, and he was telling a story about going fishing with a buddy, and his buddy would, catch a fish, reel it in, bring it in the boat, measure it, and then throw out big fish. He would catch another fish, reel it in, bring it in the boat, measure it, and he would keep the small fish. And this kept happening, and Nick Saban was getting really frustrated. And so the guy kept reeling in fish, throwing out the big ones, keeping the little ones, reeling in fish, throwing out the big ones, keeping the little ones. And finally, Nick Saban said, I got so pissed off, I had to ask, why in the heck are you throwing away the big fish and keeping the little ones? And the guy responded, it's because I only have a 9-inch frying pan. And so my question for you today is, how big is your frying pan? What is your capacity? And is it possible? Just think, is it possible that you're capable of much, much more? I'm a performance coach. That's what I'm going to be doing in the future. And I'm not a therapist. I'm not a life coach. I'm not a glorified accountability partner. What a performance coach does is help people realize that you can expand your 9-inch frying pan and do things you never thought you were capable of doing. And so I am not apologizing about it. I want to utilize this platform for opening up opportunities for me to coach people and help them win in the future. I'm a real coach, can get real results and make real impact. And again, I think this is worth repeating, that one of the bravest, most courageous things that the hero of a story can do is to ask for or be open to the idea of guidance from a coach. And I might even have commercials about this in the future, something like this. You know that little voice in your head that says, I'll get to it tomorrow. I just need to get more organized first, or I'm waiting for the right time, or as soon as things slow down. Yeah, I used to listen to that voice too. Turns out that voice is a liar. As a performance coach, I help people translate their excuses to action. If you're ready to stop negotiating with yourself like a hostage situation, click the link in the show notes where you will get access to 3 excuses that kill a better story. You'll also have the opportunity to schedule a free vision call with yours truly. I would love that opportunity. The future you really want is waiting, and I'm here to help you get there. Now, back to the show. I read a statistic that said around 80% of people believe that they would see a radical transformation in their life if they had the help of a guide or a coach and implemented what he or she said. I'm going to end on pressing on something that I'm going to say with a lot of conviction. And I want to just remind you all that every good story includes a guide or a coach. And so with that, let me just remind you that there's more to life than a 9-inch frying pan. You are capable of so much more. And so with that, I just want to remind you that the better story is just behind you putting on that cape and going out and making something special happen today. Go do it.
A better life, better vision, what you wanting, let's make it happen. Time to choose the better story, come on. Choose the better story. Choose the better story, yeah.